Why did you end up cutting almost everyone off, without drama, without explanation, and without regret? Not the silence of an empty room, but the silence of no longer checking your phone. The silence of no longer waiting for notifications. Group chats left on read. A birthday passing without a single message. And realizing you don't actually feel disappointed. Why did you suddenly notice that you don't miss anyone's voice? You don't miss explaining yourself. You don't miss small talk. You don't even miss the relationships you once believed you couldn't lose. And why? When someone asks if you want to go out, "I'm busy" is no longer an excuse, but a boundary you've finally allowed yourself to admit? You don't apologize for saying no anymore. You don't rush to prove that you're still normal, still social, still part of things. You might think this is coldness, burnout, avoidance. But what if it's the opposite? What if you didn't suddenly become distant, but finally stopped showing up for people who were never really there for you? Today, we're not asking why you don't fit in. We're asking something closer to the truth. When someone cuts off almost everyone, it's rarely an escape from the world. It's often how they survive long-term emotional exhaustion. You didn't wake up one day and decide to burn every bridge. This was never a dramatic choice. It was a quiet exit built over time. At first, it was a message you didn't reply to, not out of anger, not as punishment. You were simply too tired. Then, an invitation you declined. Politely, with a reason. They understood. Then another, and another, until one day you noticed you hadn't reached out to anyone in a long time. Not because you didn't care, but because every interaction required explanation, emotional regulation, adjustment, and the cost had grown far beyond what you could carry. You began to feel less like a person and more like a function. You were needed, but rarely asked, "Is this too much for you?" So you stepped back. Not by blocking, not by accusing, not by reopening old wounds. You simply appeared less, explained less, stopped pouring energy into relationships that had long stopped balancing. What made the shift undeniable wasn't that others noticed you'd changed. It was that when you stopped explaining, stopped showing up, you didn't feel lonely. You felt something unfamiliar. Relief. For years, you were the one who showed up. The steady presence, the reliable one. When someone spiraled, when a crisis hit, when comfort was needed, you were often the first person they thought of. You answered calls. You replied to messages. You listened deeply, late into the night. You remembered birthdays. You asked, "Are you okay?" and meant it. You were called dependable, easy to talk to, always there. Until one day, you weren't. You reached your own breaking point, your own low. That moment, often late at night, when self-regulation finally failed. You hesitated before asking for help. You didn't expect much, just that this once someone might show up for you. What came back was silence, maybe a short message of sympathy, maybe a promise to call. That never happened. They weren't cruel. They were simply used to something else, you always handling it on your own. And in that moment, you realized what you thought was mutual support was actually one-sided reliability. You didn't turn cold, you saw clearly. What truly changed you wasn't a single disappointment. It was the moment you could no longer make excuses for anyone. You saw it plainly. When you needed help most, you were still alone. Not because no one existed, but because those relationships were never built to hold the real weight of you. Looking back, you noticed how many connections only felt close while you were giving. The moment you stopped managing, soothing, stabilizing, they weakened or disappeared. From then on, you couldn't invest unconditionally anymore. Every interaction triggered a quiet calculation. How much energy will this take? And will anything come back? This isn't coldness, it's delayed self-protection. Your psychological system finally understood continuing to give would not create safety, only deepen depletion. You faced a difficult truth. You could no longer use your life force to sustain relationships that never carried you in return. So you stopped. Not because you didn't care, but because you finally did. When you reduced contact, stopped explaining, stopped maintaining connections, people said you'd grown distant. But before your mind caught up, your nervous system already had. It remembered the pattern. You move closer, you trust, you give fully, and you end up alone, cleaning up the damage yourself. The friend who vanished during your lowest point, the partner who stepped back when you needed them most, the relationships that only existed while you were holding it together. Your brain didn't forget. So when new connections began forming, your body tightened first. Before logic intervened, a quiet thought appeared. This will end the same way, won't it? That isn't pessimism. It's memory. When the brain repeatedly experiences approach, disappointment, self-repair, it adopts the most efficient protection it knows: early withdrawal. You became quieter, not because you don't need people, but because distance finally felt safer than hope. What others see as coldness is actually the first time you stopped placing yourself where harm was guaranteed. Over time, you realized something. The only thing you could still control was when you left. If relationships always ended with you carrying the weight alone, then this time, you wanted to choose the ending. So you left first, not because you didn't care, but because you knew exactly what caring would cost. When you're the one who disconnects, the pain of abandonment softens. At least you aren't blindsided. Psychology calls this anticipatory withdrawal. From the outside, it looks self-destructive. From the inside, it feels like overdue protection. You stopped waiting for people to disappear. You exited before disappointment fully settled. No confrontations, no accusations, no final arguments, just slower replies, less presence, until your absence felt normal, quiet, decisive, because you couldn't endure another confirmation that you were on your own. Many people think you became independent later in life, but this began early. Somewhere in childhood, you learned a belief both vital and painful. Needing others is dangerous. Maybe your parents were physically present but emotionally unavailable. Maybe love came with conditions: obedience, silence, self-sufficiency. Maybe when you asked for help, you received delay, dismissal, or nothing at all. So your developing brain reached a conclusion. Relying on myself hurts less. You learned independence, responsibility, not expecting rescue. You stopped placing your needs on the table, stopped exposing vulnerability. So when you eventually cut off almost everyone, you weren't becoming colder. You were returning to what you already knew. You don't lack the capacity for connection. You simply can't survive handing your hope to others only to retrieve it alone. You aren't heartless. You survived. If you're in this quiet now, not reaching out, not explaining your absence, not rushing back into connection, understand this: you didn't fail. You didn't harden. You stopped consuming yourself inside a pattern that never responded. Some will call this avoidance. Psychologically, it's regulation. When a person repeatedly gives, waits, and is hurt, the nervous system learns to withdraw, not to punish, but to prevent collapse. You chose quiet, not because you don't need people, but because not every connection deserves access to you. You stopped explaining because you were tired of proving pain to those who never listened. The real shift is this. Your attention moved from who will stay to what can I actually endure. That's not retreat. That's boundary awareness. If one day you choose connection again, it won't be from fear of loneliness, but from wholeness. And if you remain quiet for now, that's okay. You haven't disappeared. You've finally claimed a space that no one gets to take from you. This is Felix. May you understand yourself more deeply and treat the growing version of you with gentleness. See you next time.